Characters are probably the main element to make Final Fantasy games stand out, and that not only applies to the party members, but to the equally important antagonist we have to face. These can be memorable for their own different reasons, but today I want to show the moments where the main antagonists show how fearsome and threatening they can be, not with words, but the moments where the bad guys actually win. Of course, winning may mean different things, as chances are that the players end up victorious at the end. So this is more about moments in time during the game where the antagonist seems to have reached their main goal, not that far into the plot. For example, Emperor Matthäus in Final Fantasy II is a good example of a conqueror winning right from the start. From the opening sequence, he's succeeding conquering different towns, including ours, as we are caught in an unwinnable fight to start the journey as rebels at the hideout. But that doesn't mean it's his only win. The Emperor won't stop there, as during the game there's many instances where these campaigns get more and more brutal, such as the use of the Dreadnought airship to destroy more towns like Altair and Poft. And even controlling a cyclone to destroy even worse and more of them, showing during the game a total dominion over the world. Even when you first defeat him in combat, he comes back from hell to rise as an emperor once again from his pandemonium, so that's pretty badass. Kefka in Final Fantasy VI is a good example of a villain winning and turning the world into a cataclysmic state, as at the end of the first half of the game, along his Emperor, he will summon the floating continent that holds the three gods of magic, and while creating an imbalance of their power, will be able to destroy the world as we know it. Despite Shadow's efforts, we are able to witness the destruction of the world that will be referred to as the very day the world collapsed, and for the next year this will be known as the World of Ruin. This world is characterized by the barren wastelands, the deserts, burned forest, and polluted water, with an unsettling color as we can see, as the oceans are shown as red. Sephiroth in Final Fantasy VII is a similar case, but with more layers on top of it. First of all, a big win for him is the murder of a certain party member. To add salt to the wound, he would treat her as a mere diversion so he can move on with his plan. His second big win will include also the manipulation and absolute control over the main character himself, as he breaks Cloud's will and uses him as a puppet to trigger the catatonic state of the world of this game, which is the awakening of the weapons and the summon of the meteor. While this sets the planet into an end-of-the-world state, it's more the imminent danger rather than the destruction itself, as that doesn't happen like it did with the World of Ruin. Caius in Final Fantasy XIII-2 is the best example in my opinion, as this is something that happens at the very end. The protagonists, Serah and Noel, fight him as your traditional final boss at Valhalla, the realm where time doesn't flow, with the particularity that you have the illusion of choice by deciding to kill him or not.
Bear the burden of the eternal paradox.
The game proceeds to explain how, despite this tragedy, everything will be alright, which includes reuniting with everyone and Serah being healthy, despite her being a Farseer who is able to witness the future at the expense of shortening her lifespan. But then, during the ending sequence, this happened.
Thank you.
Serah. No, not now, please. Serah, snap out of it. No. Serah.
Serah, the protagonist of the game, passes away from this curse, despite what happened just now, and the bad end triggers. The reign of Valhalla unleashes over the real world, setting it into a cataclysm state where time doesn't flow.
These thoughts that live within my heart, they will endure the passing of eons. If they can one day be the light that guides Sarah's soul back to me.
And the last shot of the game, we can see a crystallized lightning sealed at her throne too. Aside from the shock of this ending, the nature of this game allows you to check other endings for more context. And here we have a true secret ending to witness Caius rejoicing as he confirms his victory, with Noel and Sarah doing exactly what he wanted to begin with.
Ignorant and blind to their true mission, they did exactly what I wanted. At the end of their journey to save the world, they stilled the goddess's power. Curse. Embrace the new world. The goddess is dead.
Not only we arrive to a true bad end in this game, but as a trilogy, we get to see the aftermath of this world frozen in time in the third game, Lightning Returns, where the world is coming to a certain end and the NPCs will make sure to let you know that, while also seeing the characters' reaction and suffering because of Sarah's fate, like Snow or Lightning herself.
The way we gotta leave it. What are you waiting for, Lightning? You don't have much time left before the world ends. This is your last chance for payback to the man who couldn't keep your sister safe.
Of course, it's been centuries. People are bound to change.
Have the years changed him? Maybe. The Snow I remember was an optimist, almost laughably so. He believed in everyone, and so everyone believed in him. That's why in the end, I could accept Sarah wanting to marry him. But while I slept away the years in Crystal, he had to live every day, facing the world's coming end. Centuries, watching all hope crumble, lifetimes passing without a hint of escape. No man can stare into the darkness for so long and survive with his soul intact.
Before moving on, I should clarify that my Final Fantasy XIV knowledge is not vast enough because I've been catching up slowly, so with many expansions, probably there's a moment that feels like this too. And I am aware that this guy right here has quite a reputation of being one of the best ever, so I'm sure he's up to something. So just wanted to mention this great game too. Ardyn in Final Fantasy XV is similar to Sephiroth. His first big threatening action was the murder of, in this case, Noctis' bride, Lunafreya.
On second thought, you let him have it. And do remind him about the crystal.
Pass the ring to the rightful king. When the prophecy is fulfilled, all enthralled to darkness shall know peace.
How sweet. But please, Lady Lunafreya. You first.
While also being very successful in torturing the main character. Such is the case here.
Seriously trying to kill me. Why wouldn't I? I've got you. What are you after, following me around this whole time? It's all your fault! What are you talking about? Do you really mean that, Noct?
So when he leads Noctis to seal himself for 10 years to fulfill his prophecy, the world will envelop for the next 10 years into a complete darkness filled with demons instead.
I know redemption. Come back soon. I shall keep your friends company too.
Such is the state of the world that is called in fact World of Ruin. What was a nice place to hang out before, it's a demon head by now. Before ending, might make some special mentions here and there because usually most main antagonists in Final Fantasy have at least some small victories through time, like how in Final Fantasy IV, Golbez is able to collect the famous crystals, not only the 4 of them, but also another 4 from the underground, or Exdeath in Final Fantasy V, destroying these crystals that lose their power, and after he merged the worlds, was able to unleash the Void to take over some big towns. Or another common thing is for enemies to reach this type of end of the world state, but this would happen right at the end, so there's no big feeling of defeat yet, like with Kefka for example. Such are the cases of Ultimecia's time compression in Final Fantasy VIII, Kuja's Mist in Final Fantasy IX, how the world in Final Fantasy XVI is consumed mostly by the Aether by the time the last fight is about to happen, or even in some side games like Type 0, reaching Tempus Finis, which literally means the end of times. So might as well mention them. Thank you for watching, enjoy some Final Fantasy, and if you're like me, you'll probably be playing Rebirth to completion for the next 6 months, so good luck with that.